We're good.
I would like to call this meeting to order. We would like to begin on acknowledging that the land on which we gather is a traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, the Ottawa, and Mississauga peoples. Thank you. Confirmation of the agenda that the Council of the Township of North Huron hereby accepts the agenda for the July 5th, 2021 meeting as presented. Do I have a mover? I have Trevor moving. Do I have a seconder? I have Paul seconding. Thank you. Carson?
Thank you, Your Worship. So Deputy Reeve-Sight?
Yes.
Councillor Falconer?
Yes.
Councillor Heffer?
Yes.
Councillor Van Hittersum?
Yes.
Councillor Palmer?
Yes.
Councillor McBurney?
Yes.
And Reeve Bailey.
Yes.
So that motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. Disclosure of pecuniary interest. Not seeing any, we shall move on. Public comments. This is an opportunity for members of the public to speak to any item of business on the agenda. 2 minutes per person. Is there anyone out there that would like to speak to this? Not hearing anyone, we shall move on. Consent agenda. That the Council of the Township of North Huron hereby adopts consent item 5.1.1, and further the Council of the Township of North Huron hereby receives consent item 5.1.2 to 5.3.2 for information. Do I have a mover? I have Anita moving, Paul seconding. Would anybody like to pull anything out? Did you have your hand up, Rick, to pull anything out? Okay, sorry. Not seeing any. Carson, I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you, Your Worship. So Councillor Falconer?
Yes.
Councillor Heffer?
Yes.
Councillor Van Hittersum?
Yes.
Councillor Palmer?
Yes.
Councillor McBurney?
Yes.
Deputy Reeve-Sight?
Yes.
And Reeve Bailey.
Yes.
So that motion carries 7-0.
We're going to move on to 6 public meetings and hearings and delegations. Tonight we have none. So we're going to move right along to 7.1, Clerk's Department. 7.1.1 would be the plan of 2021-21 Site Plan Control Agreement with Hotel Lux /BAAG Airtight Storage Limited. Monica, would you like to take over? Is Monica with us yet?
Hi, sorry about that. I am here. I had a couple issues getting connected tonight, but so I'm just catching up. I do have a PowerPoint presentation for that site plan. If you'll just give me a moment and I'll bring that up and share my screen. So just if you don't mind bearing with me for one moment while I get that. Okay, this is the application for site plan agreement. The purpose of this application is so that the car wash property on Queen Street in Blythe can be used as a parking area for the Hotel Lux property. So this site plan agreement affects the property at Plan 168, Lot 6 and part of Lot 5, Lot 7. And it's in reference plan 22R 377 part 1. And as I mentioned, the application is to propose to allow parking on an off-site property for the Hotel Lux property. So the subject property that's impacted by this site plan agreement is the car wash property at the address I just mentioned. That property is zoned C4 or core commercial, and it's designated core commercial in the township's official plan. The application for site plan approval has been reviewed by the development team. This slide just shows the car wash property. For those that aren't familiar, it's located on the same side of Queen Street as the Hotel Lux property. It's located within the 150 meters. That's the minimum requirement for off-site parking. And the proposal is to provide 4 parking spaces on the car wash property, 3 spaces in the area where my arrow is pointing, and 1 space near just across from where the vacuum cleaner is in this location. So you can see the photograph here showing 3 spaces right adjacent to Queen Street, and the curb here adjacent to where the vacuum cleaner is for the car wash is also a parking space for Hotel Lux. So in considering this application for site plan approval, the planning department has given consideration to the requirements of the township's zoning bylaw, which requires that when parking is being provided on an off-site area, that this be firmed up through an agreement between the person providing the off-site parking or the property providing the off-site parking and an agreement with the township. This will mean that the township can be sure that even if the property changes hands in the future, then it will continue to be used for a parking area for the Hotel Lux property. So those would be my comments for now, and I'm available if there are any questions.
Does anybody have any questions or comments for Monica? Go ahead, Deputy Reeve Site.
My only question is are they going to be signed as appropriate? Like, I mean, that obviously if somebody is in there in that area, what would stop somebody from parking in those places that are not Hotel Lux customers, I guess is my question.
Okay, through the Reeve, there are privately constructed signs that are quite attractive. I don't have a copy of them in my presentation, but Hotel Lux has designed and installed their own signs, and they indicate the limited mobility spaces, and they indicate that they're only for Hotel Lux customer parking. So those are already in place on the property.
Thank you. Anyone else? Go ahead, Kevin. Councillor Faulkner.
Thank you, Reeve, or through you, Reeve. Just curious, is this just a standard for every business, or is it just the hotel has to perform or has to provide this many spaces for the rental or for the like their overnight guests? I was just wondering why is this just being applied to them and not the rest of the businesses? Is there something that in the bylaw that says it's just this type of business?
Yes, in the core commercial, there are exemptions for businesses to provide parking. But when you have a hotel or a residential use, you are required to provide parking for that. So this is something that the hotel owners are aware of, and they've actually have provided these spaces at the car wash for more than a year now, but it's being recognized through this site plan in order to conform with the zoning bylaws requirement that it be spelled out in an agreement.
I'm just asking this because there are 3 other rental properties that I don't think they would comply with this. I don't see how they could on the main street, as we've been pushing for businesses or rental properties above these spaces, whether it be residential or commercial. They don't fall under these same rules. I'm just wondering why how that works.
Yes, through the reef. I don't have those provisions in front of me, but I have read them recently. So the provisions of the parking provisions in the zoning bylaw provide exemptions in the core commercial area for most businesses. And they also recognize if there's an existing residential that existed before the zoning bylaw was created that didn't have parking, then those aren't required to provide parking. But if an apartment unit is being renovated to increase the occupancy, then they will have to meet the minimum parking requirements in the zoning bylaw, even if they are in the core commercial area. And if they can't provide those parking spaces on their own private property on the same property, then they would have to go through something similar to this, where they would find parking spaces on a property within 150 meters. But the zoning bylaw requires that that be recognized through a site plan agreement.
Okay, because they're identical businesses 2 doors down and across the street that don't seem to have to conform to the same measures of having to provide parking spaces. So just curious as why this one was singled out.
It might be that those other businesses existed and had rooms prior to the date of the passing of the zoning bylaw and were grandfathered in. Without getting into the specifics of a certain business, I wouldn't be able to say for sure, but that's often the case.
Can you tell me when that zoning bylaw was enacted? What the date was?
I can jump in here if you want, Monica. Just from my memory, when I was on council last time, this issue came up, and a local merchant owned the car wash, and I believe it had to do with the fact that it's a hotel, so it's designated as a hotel, and specific, I think, to county bylaws, I believe it was, that you have to have parking for rooms in a hotel. Therefore, Rick at the time signed an agreement with, I forget who owned the building at that time, but we went through this before, and that's really what it was about, Kevin. It was, I think it's because of the actual title of the unit. It's an action hotel, and you have to have parking spots for it, as the one at Kitty Corner from it, the boot we called it. But that's just going back 6 years, Monica. I don't know if that helps you out.
Yeah, no, I'm not referring to the other motel. I'm just referring to the other nightly accommodations in town.
Yeah.
They don't have to come. They weren't having to go through the same loops as groups that the Hotel Lux has. So I was just curious when that came into effect. Thank you.
Okay, go ahead, Councillor Palmer. You're muted, Kevin. Chris, you're muted.
Thank you, Eve, and through you to Monica. I'm not against the idea of this. Don't get me wrong, but I'm just a little concerned about the owner of the car wash, and say he sold it, and I realize that the parking seems to move on in perpetuity. But say the new owner repurposes the thing, tears it down, and does something else. Like, what happens then? I'm just trying, ask pertinent questions. That's all.
So if I could clarify the process of the agreement. So the agreement, what you'll see on the council package, is between the township and the car wash property owner. So they're the signatories of the agreement. So once executed, it gets registered on title with that specific property. So if they were changing the use or selling it, I'm sure it would come up as a title search, and it would be flagged before any reconstruction could occur.
Yeah, it just limits any future development, future repurposing. I don't know. That's the only issue I have.
Thank you very kindly. Anyone else? Not seeing any. We'll read the bylaw PL 2021-21 site plan control agreement with Hotel Lux / BAAG in capital letters. Airtight storage limited location, plan 168 lot 6 PT, lots 5 PT, lot 7 RP, 22 R377 part 1 Blythe, Township of North Huron, County of Huron, 389 Queen Street. Applicant owner, Hotel Lux / Bagby AG in public or in capital letters, Airtight Storage Limited. That the Council of the Township of North Huron hereby approves the Hotel Lux Bag Airtight Storage Limited Purpose Site Plan Control Agreement as it applies to the Registered Plan 168 Lot 6, Part Lot 5, Part Lot 7 as Registered Plan 22R377, Part 1 Blythe, Township of North Huron of Huron, 389 Queen Street. And further, that the council deem the adoption of bylaw number 57-2021 to be time sensitive and approves an extension to the exception to the section 19.1 of the procedural bylaw, allowing for bylaw number 57-2021 to be adopted at the July 5th, 2021 regular meeting. Do I have a mover? I have Deputy Reeve Sipes moving. Seconder, please. I have Paul Heffer seconding. Deputy Reeve Sipes, did you have something you wanted to say?
Yeah. I just Kirk had put something in the chat that indicating that he could help assist where maybe he wanted to comment on something that was questioned. So I'm just wondering if we give an opportunity to the chief building official to answer or to make comment.
Thank you very kindly, Deputy Reeve Sipes. Kirk, you out there?
Yes, I am, and good evening. Just to help maybe assist Monica there as well to answer Kevin's question. Hotel Lux required a building permit for the work they're doing, and they did for the 3 units that they put in, I think in 2019 or 2020. And as a requirement to issue the building permit, we have to ensure compliance with the zoning bylaw is met. And as a condition, issuing the permit, we need Hotel Lux to enter into the site plan agreement with the car wash owner for parking spaces.
Thank you very kindly, Kirk. Okay. All said and done, I'm going to hand it over to Carson for roll call.
Thank you, Your Worship. So Councillor Heffer,
Yes.
Councillor Van Hitterson,
Yes.
Councillor Palmer,
Yes.
Councillor McBurney,
Yes.
Deputy Reeve Sipe,
Yes.
Councillor Falconer,
Yes.
and Reeve Bailey.
Yes.
So that motion carries 7-0.
Thank you very kindly. We're going to move on to 7.1.2, and that's PL-2021-22 applicant to lift holding symbol Rutling, holding limited. Do I have a mover? First, we'll let Monica speak to this first, and then Kevin's going to move. Okay, go ahead, Monica. Sorry.
Thanks. I do have a presentation for this one as well, and if you'll just bear with me one more moment, I'll have that for you. Here we are. So I don't know, can you see my presentation? I can only see my presentation now.
No, we can't, Monica.
No, okay, let me try that again. Here. I think you can see my presentation now. This makes more sense. So this is an application to remove a holding symbol from a property. An application to remove a holding symbol is an amendment to the zoning bylaw, but it doesn't have the same public meeting requirements. When a holding symbol is used on a property, it's because there's something that's required to be completed prior to development happening on the property. And so a holding symbol is used to control development on a property until those requirements can be satisfied. In this case, the owner of the property is Rutling Holdings Limited. It's lot 14 in Registered Plan 22M13 or 648 Glorious Street. So currently the property is zoned R1-H and it's designated residential in the official plan. The applicant wishes to construct a single detached residence on the subject lands. The reason the holding symbol was applied is it was done at the time of the zoning bylaw amendment that was associated with the Rutledge subdivision. It was done to ensure that issues with the Whitfield municipal drain and any Maitland Valley Conservation Authority issues would be addressed. In reviewing this application, information has been provided by the applicant to show how the issues associated with the Whitfield drain and the regulated areas for the Conservation Authority will be addressed on the subject lands. So this drainage plan has been provided by the applicant and has been reviewed by the Conservation Authority. As you can see, the Conservation Authority regulation limit extends across the area where the house will be built, but there is an 4-meter easement around the area of the Blythe Creek, and the area of the house construction is outside of the slope that slopes down to the creek. So in reviewing this, the Maitland Valley Conservation Authority has no concerns, and the building official has indicated that he has no concerns. This is what the property looked like prior to the Rutledge subdivision going in. And as you can see, the land is a little rough at the back of the property where it slopes down towards the drain. But the area has been completely redeveloped now. And this is what the property looks like today. And this is what it looks like looking towards the north from North Street across the land. So in reviewing this application with staff, it has been determined that it is now a good time to remove the -H so that development can proceed on the subject property. So those would be my comments for now, and I'm available if there are any questions.
Thank you, Monica. So I had Kevin Faulkner moving that. Do I have a seconder? I have Nita Van Hindersum seconding. Okay, let's open it up to council for questions, comments, or concerns. Not seeing anyone. I have movers. I'm going to read it now. Property description, lot 14, plan 22 M13 Blythe Township of North Huron, County of Huron, 648 Gloria Street. Applicant owner Rudding Holding Limited. That the council of the Township of North Huron hereby approves an application to lift the holding symbol as it applies to lot 14, plan 22 M13 Blythe, Township of North Huron, County of Huron, 648 Gloria Street. And further, that the clerk be directed to bring forward the necessary bylaw to lift the holding symbol from the subject lands for the July 19th, 2021 regular meeting. Carson, if you want to take over.
Thank you, Your Worship. So Councillor Van Hindersum,
Yes.
Councillor Palmer,
Yes.
Councillor McBurney,
Yes.
Deputy Reeve Sight,
Yes.
Councillor Faulkner,
Yes.
Councillor Heffer,
Yes.
and Reeve Bailey.
Yes.
So that motion carries 7-0.
Okay, thank you very kindly. 7.1.3 is a council composition review and evaluation follow-up report. Carson, did you want to speak to this first?
Yes, Your Worship. I have another slide show that I'll display for council here.
Thank you kindly.
So is all of council able to see this shared screen there? Okay, perfect. So just some background again, this report stems from the action item in the strategic plan to evaluate the current size and structure of council. And the intended outcome, as noted in the strategic plan, is to ensure that council is both the right size and structure. So again, this follow-up report and presentation is to provide council with the information necessary to allow council to evaluate its current size and structure. So just some continued background for the benefit of the public. This is the direction stemming from the previous meeting. So on June 21st, Staff report CL 2021-18 and the accompanying materials were presented to council. And this staff report provided council with various amounts of information, including information on the legislative framework for altering council composition, a data-driven research and evaluation of 40 other comparator municipalities that were similar in both terms of population and geography, some considerations based on North Huron's current operations, and then finally the financial impact of any changes made. So after that report, council expressed a desire to consider what I've referred to throughout as the 4 layers of decisions all at one time. And council deferred a decision on the selection method of the deputy reeve position until tonight's meeting, so that everything could, all decisions could be made at once. And as part of this discussion as well, council also directed staff to investigate whether there's any historical documentation that might prevent North Huron from being able to alter its council composition. And then also requests were made for potential options for council's consideration. So that is really the purpose of this report, to provide that additional information that was requested by council, and then to let council make those decisions, all 4 layers of those decisions kind of at once here. So those 4 layers of decisions to be made, just as a reminder, I've summarized those as follows. 1 is the selection method for the position of the deputy reeve. 2 is the size of council. 3 is whether to retain the ward system or dissolve the wards in favor of electing all members of council by general vote, or in favor of electing all council members at large. And then the 4th consideration, if a ward system is to be retained, what that composition looks like, and of course, if wards are dissolved in decision 3, then this 4th consideration isn't necessary. So just some information on the authority to alter council composition as previously requested. So the township was created through a municipal restructuring order that established the corporation of the township of North Huron as of January 1st, 2001. And this minister's order received Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing approval in March 3rd of the year 2000. So after thorough research into this order and through discussions with the township solicitor, there's certainly nothing in the order that requires the township to maintain this current composition of council permanently. Just for council's benefit, municipal restructuring orders are transitory documents, and they establish processes to change municipal boundaries for the purpose of municipal restructuring. In those orders, they describe components of the restructuring to allow for a smooth transition. So, for example, they set out the boundaries, when the restructuring will occur, council composition, and also a number of other transitional provisions, such as how people go about paying their taxes now, how taxes owing, where those get paid to, and then also, for example, the continuance of municipal bylaws until those bylaws are repealed by the newly formed municipality. But I guess all in all, municipal restructuring orders do not bind municipalities to maintain the components that are set out in that order. So just for some context of the North Huron restructuring order, so North Huron has made a number of changes to the components that were in that original March 3rd, 2000 municipal restructuring order. So for example, the municipal boundaries were changed at one point through an annexation agreement with Morris Turnberry in 2005, which I believe would be the A2A lands, as well as a number of local boards that were specified as being in effect were dissolved by the municipality throughout the years of since amalgamation. So just as a final point here on that, to summarize, as long as municipalities are acting in accordance with the provincial legislation, whether that be the Municipal Act or any other act granting the municipality the authority to make changes, then municipalities can make changes to what's in a restructuring order. And so, as I noted last time, there's legislative authority to change council composition in various sections of the Municipal Act. For example, Section 217(1) outlines those kind of 5 legislative rules for council composition. Section 220(1) outlines making changes to wards, and Section 242 outlines the deputy's position. So the last half of the presentation here, I'm really just going to provide options for council based on the 4 kind of decisions to be made. So last time I presented the comparative data, the legislative framework, and I'm not going to go through all that information again, but certainly if at the end, if there's any questions on that, I'd be happy to answer it. But really just the rest of this is, here are some of the available options for council's consideration. And so there's 5 outlined in total. So yeah, again, this was requested at the June 21st meeting. And I just want to make note of all the options that are being presented here are developed based on, in order to align with that comparator municipal data of the 40 other municipalities. So a good example of that is, as I noted last time, the data certainly didn't support a council size of more than 7 members. So because of that, we didn't spend any time developing options with more than a council size of 7. Also, as noted last time as well, there's certainly a benefit for municipalities to have an odd number of members on council. So all the options developed have taken that into account. So in order to avoid confusion with tie votes for staff, for council, and also for members of the public. So option 1 is what I've referred to as a smaller council, but maintain the wards. And so what this structure would look like is the composition of council would be restructured for the 2022 municipal election to a 5-member council. The reeve and the deputy reeve would be elected at large, and then you would have 1 Wingham ward councillor, 1 Blythe ward councillor, and 1 East Wawanash ward councillor. So you're maintaining the amount of councillors for each of the 3 wards. So this option would be beneficial if council wanted to, 1, select the deputy reeve at large, 2, reduce the size of council, and 3, retain a ward system with the existing boundaries while also maintaining an equal number of council representatives for each of the 3 wards. So option 2 is a smaller council and eliminate wards. So in this option, the ward system would be dissolved and the composition of council would be restructured to 5 members as follows. So a reeve, a deputy reeve, and 3 councillors, and all 5 positions would be elected at large. So this option would be beneficial if council wanted to, again, 1, select the deputy reeve at large, 2, again, reduce the size of council, but 3, dissolve the ward system. So option 2 is different than option 1 because option 2 eliminates the wards, where option 1 retains the wards. So option 3 is what I've referred to as maintain the size of council but eliminate the wards. So in this option, the ward system would be dissolved for the 2022 municipal election, but the council size would remain the same at 7 members. So what that looks like would be the reeve and the deputy reeve at large, and then 5 councillor positions that are all also elected at large. So this option would be beneficial if council wanted to, again, select the deputy reeve at large, 2, maintain the current size of council, and 3, dissolve the ward system. So the difference between this option and option 2 is that this option, the size of council is not changed. So option 4 is maintain the size of council and retain the wards. So what this composition looks like is there would be a council of 7 for the 2022 municipal election, and the ward system would be retained, but it would be slightly altered as noted here. So the reeve and deputy reeve would be elected at large. There would be 2 councillor positions also elected at large. And then again, there would be 1 councillor from each of the 3 wards to ensure that consistency of the council representatives across the 3 wards. So this option would be beneficial if council wanted to, again, select the deputy reeve at large, 2, maintain the current size of council, and 3, also retain the ward system with the existing boundaries, while maintaining that equal number of council representatives for each of the 3 wards. So just as a note here, this option was developed based on the Ashfield Cobra Wawanosh example that they've used for the 2018 to 2022 term of council. And as I've mentioned or alluded to here, the difference between this option 3 and this option is that the ward system would be retained. So option 5 and the last option here is status quo. So council is certainly familiar with this one, but for the 2022 municipal election, the composition would be as follows. The Reeve would be the only member elected at large. There would be 2 councillor positions from Wingham, 2 councillor positions from Blythe, and 2 councillor positions from East Wawanosh. And the deputy Reeve would be selected by council from within council, from among the ward councillors at the inaugural meeting of council. So this option would be beneficial if council did not want to select the deputy Reeve at large, wanted to maintain the current size of council, and also wanted to retain the ward system with the existing boundaries and with an equal number of representatives from each of the 3 wards. So just looking at option 5 in comparison to those 4 layers of decisions, I just thought it was important to tie it back to those 4 layers of decisions again, but ultimately by maintaining the status quo, council is just confirming that decision 1 here again, that the electorate shouldn't be involved in the selection process of the deputy Reeve. 2, so the second decision, council will be confirming that a 7-member council is more effective in its decisions than a 5-member council. And 3 and 4 tied together here as it relates to the ward system. Basically, council will be confirming that in the current form, the ward system ensures that decisions are being made in the best interest of all ratepayers of the Township of North Huron. So to summarize, here's the direction that's required from council. At this time, staff are seeking direction on council's preferred composition option. If an option is selected that changes the current council composition, a bylaw would need to be brought forward to change the composition of council, and that would occur at the July 19th meeting. But if council was to not make any changes, then of course a bylaw wouldn't be necessary, and we would take that out of the draft motion there. So I guess if there's any questions, and those could be questions related to the data and information presented in the last report, or some of the available options here. And if not, then I would say I'd turn it over to Reeve Bailey to have a discussion on the preferred option of council.
Thank you very much, Carson. Before we go any further, I just want to point out to everybody that on January 27th, 2020, right here, this is our governments and modernization page. This is for our strategic plan. So we all sat together, we paid people to help us with this, and we put it together. 3.7 is the evaluation of the current size and structure of council. And the intent is to ensure council is the right size and structure. Who is to do it? The clerk's department brings it before council. The timing is medium term, and the plans to implement are evaluated and undertaken, which we're doing right now. So I just want to point that out, that this was in our strategic plan all along. The decision we're going to make tonight, we're going to have a conversation to make a decision tonight. And the main thing is, guys, it's just another decision. Okay? We had some tough decisions. If you don't want to change things, we won't change things. Majority will rule. If you want to change something, we will. But this is just another conversation, and the staff have put together a very good information for us to go by. Having said that, I'm going to open it up to the floor. Who would like to speak? Go ahead, Anita.
Thank you very much, Reeve Bailey. I am a member on several committees, Maitland Valley, Physicians Recruitment, Community Future Huron, and in their bylaws, they are required and they are advising their people that they want representation from a variety of municipalities and from a variety of sectors. I also think that effective representation of North Huron The distinctive communities is at risk when we are going to a completely at large composition of council. Local councillors are more accessible and are more aware of local issues. More council members says more diversity. It's a better mirror of the community, and there is less chance for special interest groups to come forward. It also, if we go with 7 councillors, then there is a better spread of the workloads. It makes it more attractive for younger members, and that's what we certainly want, to have younger members. So those are my first comments, and maybe I'll come back with something else later.
Thank you very much, Anita. Anyone else who'd like to speak next? Go ahead, Chris.
Well, thank you, Rafe. Back at 2000, 2001, when amalgamation discussions were going on, like, those were tough discussions. It's not just a stroke of a pen and it was done. Like, to be honest, Wingham, nobody wanted to go with Wingham. It was too big to deal with, and they were afraid of being just steamrolled. So there's East Wanash and Blythe sitting there, and they had really no place to go. But when discussions were made, it was suggested, because the Municipal Act allows for wards, it was suggested, let's have wards. And that was kind of the carrot that brought everybody together. And I'm saying it was a good thing. It brought everybody together because it gave equal representations for the little guys. Unless you're a little guy, you don't understand. It's hard to understand. If you're the big guy, it's like being an older brother, and it doesn't matter. You pound out the young brother. It's not the same, but it's equal. So that's what I'm trying to get across to everybody, that it's important that we maintain a ward system, because it just keeps everything simpler, more representation, and it's equal. You know, where the reeve comes from, you know, doesn't matter. It's going to be, he or she's going to be somewhere, and that's okay. Our system has worked really well. Sure, there's always a wobbly wheel. I've heard it put that way, but there's going to be a wobbly wheel no matter what option we choose. But this is a good one. The status quo is a good one, and I just think it's important that you know, we recognize that, because if we deviate from it, it's going to be to me, it's going to be a weaker new system, and I'm a little concerned about that. Having more chances for ganging up. I hate using that, but that happens. That's politics. It happens everywhere. And when you have 7, there's less chance of that. There is. And when you're down to 5, that's we're treading on uneven ground there. I don't like that. So like that's just some of my comments. I'll let others speak. Thank you.
Let's just keep going right around the table and get everybody's comments right up front, and then we'll have further discussion. Paul, do you mind going next? Your thoughts?
Sure. Through you, Reeve. It's very obvious from our last meeting that some of the councillors didn't want to change anything, and I see that again tonight. But I like the looks of that number 4, where it gives a compromise. We're still holding 3. We still have the 3 wards and 1 representing from each ward. But I think it brings into something else here for us, that it's just my thoughts and mine alone. But it also opens up for an opportunity for 2 councillors to be elected at large, to be able to represent the whole township without the hindrance of us looking at our wards. I just feel it might give us a bigger picture of the whole township. That's my thought. And also in there, I truly believe that this would make our deputy Reeve picked at large from the electorates, and I think that that's a very could be a very wise thing too. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Paul. Kevin, do you mind going next?
Thank you, Reeve. I'm not sure how to start the conversation without being negative all around. So I one vote, I'll use it. The status quo has been a good sounding board. We've had good conversations. At least I think in our last 3 years of going through. But I think any change to the composition of council is going to lead in some way to an imbalance. You can have three members from a ward and then have 2 elected. Well, that's still 3 against 2. If all depends how the voting goes and where you're from. You're always going to have favoritism for your own places where you're elected through. And I think with the volume of voters that are displaced through our ward system, that is problematic. And I'm just afraid with the conversations that or the comments that I've had come through in the last week about from our last conversation on this subject, it's going to trigger a much bigger problem for the municipality than and could be completely avoided by staying the status quo. So I'm gonna leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Ricky, you're up.
Thank you, Reeve Bailey. In regards to these reports and stuff, that's a lot of work Carson and staff did, a lot of material to read. But my stance is to maintain the word system. That's how I feel, and I believe I'd go with status quo. That's where I would end up deciding in the end. Thank you.
Thanks, Rick. Deputy Reeve Site.
So I am absolutely not surprised by any of the comments that have been personally or that have been said by any of the councillors. I'm not surprised in the sense that the status quo is what you know. That's the only thing you know. You haven't seen anything else, neither have I. However, my comment is it goes back to the discussion about the deputy reeve and ensuring that the electorate votes on that individual. I truly believe that that is a necessity in today's age, in the sense that the electorate should have the ability to have, in essence, their reeve and also their second potential, the intent of being the deputy reeve is, if there's an issue with the reeve, whatever that issue may be, that individual is expected from a council perspective to become the reeve. That is the intent. And if the electorate is not voting on that person, you are potentially causing more costs to your municipality if you're requiring a by-election to be called. So, I mean, I go off that as my first. I think that the deputy reeve needs to be elected at large. That person needs to be the voice of the municipality as a whole, not necessarily a councillor of a ward. The other comment that I will say is, we are elected as councillors in today's status quo as councillors need to get votes from their constituents. So myself and Councillor Heffer, we were brought in by the residents of the ward of Wingham. The argument that I have with this is, and I have this, I have been a prime example of this from the minute that I was a counselor. I have said to every electorate that I talk to, just because I come from Wingham does not mean I'm going to vote in the way of everything is in the positive of Wingham. I don't take my oath as just because I'm from Wingham and you as the electorate from Wingham voted me in means I have to vote for what's in the best interest of Wingham. I took an oath that I'm a municipal councillor for the township of North Huron. And I have made very clear in my votes that if something isn't beneficial to North Huron as a whole, but potentially a detriment to Wingham the town, that I will vote for it. Does not necessarily mean that I have to. And if the Wingham constituents don't like that, they can vote me out. That's fine. But I'm making it very clear that when we take an oath, we take an oath to the township of North Huron as a whole. And that's the conversation that I think we need to start having, and not necessarily just, well, there's an imbalance. Well, there's an imbalance when impartiality comes into play. And I agree with you. I completely agree with everybody when they say there is a potential for that. But all of us have one vote, and we all have to be able to communicate and work together to gain traction amongst each other. Whether it's 5 or 7, it doesn't matter. I mean, that's the conversation about municipal politics that makes this either work or it doesn't work. And nothing will happen if you can't work together. You don't work together, it doesn't matter what we do. Well, nothing will move forward, and we'll all be here for and not complete anything in the next year. So I don't see the imbalance that other councillors are seeing. I don't, because we've had a Reeve who was from East Wallinosh for a long time. And I mean, that was prime example. We did not always have 3 members from Wingham. And it's not necessarily that whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. I don't know about anybody else, but there isn't a ticker tape parade coming in to line up to be a municipal councillor. And I mean, young or not, I'm still the youngest municipal councillor that North Huron has seen for quite a long time. And I don't see that changing. It isn't demanding role, and many people have to take exceptions in order to do this job, and it's not easy. But does that mean you have to have 2 from each municipality? I don't agree with it. I don't think we do. So, I mean, I completely respect everybody's comments. So, I mean, I'm only one vote, and I mean, I'm willing to accept whatever comes about. But I can tell you right now, I'm with Councillor Heffer in the sense that I would be satisfied with number 4, but I'm really hoping this council would plan to do option 1. Option 1 provides council with the ward system that they need, and the ability to have their electorate vote their Reeve and deputy Reeve at large, which is in the best interest of the municipality as a whole, in my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Trevor. So I'm going to, I just a little scratching down here through the last couple of weeks. I just want to run it by you, and I hope everybody understands and thinks about what's going on around us and understands where I'm coming from. First of all, when we were first elected, it was either the first or second council meeting. You folks were asked who you would like to have as your deputy Reeve. Every one of you voted for Trevor. He's from Wingham. Yet I hear you guys saying you're so worried about Wingham taking over. So, oh, did you not vote for him, Kev? It doesn't matter.
Yes, I did. I disagree with your comment, but
okay. So
go ahead.
Yeah. So yeah, let me finish the way you guys got to finish. So that's just to start with. The other thing I think is, I just want to point out is that I think some of the counselors sitting on council right now were actually raised in, say, East Wawanach and moved to Blythe. So where's your loyalties? Do you have split loyalty? We have, Chris, you actually built your retirement home in Morris Turnberry, but you were at East Wawanach with your farm. You know, you have the right to, you have a 50 acres there, but you're in Morris Turnberry where you're paying your taxes. We have counselors, no, I get to speak first, Kevin, just like you guys did. I get to say it. And you have counselors that have, say, mom and dads that moved to Wingham or Blythe from East Wawanach. Well, I think their loyalty should be to all of us too. We should all have all loyalty together, because this is the truth. You have relatives that have had houses in Wingham, Blythe, and they were farmers in East Wawanach. So I was a little caught off guard when some of the counselors said about it would be irresponsible basically irresponsible to allow the public at large to pick the deputy reeve. And I didn't quite understand that one. If we all look at what just happened in King Carden, the deputy mayor was picked by the council and the township said no when he went to take over as, he said no, he wasn't elected by us at large. It's not going to happen. It's just another thing to keep in mind. Here's the interesting thing though. Neil Vincent took out Jack Layton when we all first got together. Jack was the first reeve, and then I believe the very first election, Neil took him out. And Neil won 3 consecutive elections after that. I ran against Neil, not just this time, but the time before. I'm the guy from Wingham that you're all worried about. Neil took me out. Neil took me out. And if you look at the voting that went on, people from Wingham voted for Neil, and people from East Wawanach voted for Bernie, but I didn't win. The last time around, it wasn't 100% from Wingham giving me the reeveship. It was equally divided. It was I think 136 votes all between us in the end. But people from all 3 wards voted for him or me. There's nothing stopping anybody from Blythe to put their name forward as reeve and have the same experience. So it wasn't the fact that Neil was from East Wawanach. It wasn't the fact that Bernie was from Wingham. It was our platform and what changed between the first and second election. And he may be back again in the next one. But you know something? He's a good guy. We're just going down different roads. So I want to touch on another one. Dave Reach. Does everybody remember Dave Reach? Dave Reach was your deputy reeve when I was on council last time. Dave Reach didn't know where Blythe was 2 years before he became your deputy reeve. How many people knew that? He was going to buy a commercial building in Brussels and the deal fell through and the real estate guy said, you know what, we got one over in Blythe. And so he bought the building on the main street of Blythe. Did you know that Dave Reach did not even finish his term as deputy reeve? He bought a lighthouse, really did buy a lighthouse, and he moved to, I forget where it was, but it's up at the point somewhere. But he moved on without finishing it. He was never from Blythe, East Wawanach, or Wingham. None of them. But he got voted in by Blythe, and he became your deputy reeve. So I'm not understanding this fear of where we're coming from. Give me a sec. Just want to say that I think I'm just going to end it right there. I put some pretty blunt things forward, but they are honestly what happened and what's happening. Okay. Nobody voted me in because I'm from Wingham. They voted me in because of my platform. A large part of my platform is going to fall through because apparently I didn't know Morris Turnberry didn't want to amalgamate with us. Golly gee. So I just want to say that I want us to all be civil. I want us to all think this out. And if we make no change, we make no change. If we make a change, we make a change. But for God's sakes, there's no such thing as Blythe hates Wingham or Wingham hates East Wawanach. It's ridiculous. Your grandparents live here. The people that have sons and daughters that are on the farm and they can't give them a job on the farm, they move to Blythe to go to work. They may work in Blythe. They may work in Wingham. They may work in Morris Turnberry. This is ridiculous, ancient talk about people hating people. It just doesn't happen. We work as a team, we work well. And so we're just doing what we put in our strategic plan. So let's just have this, finish this conversation. Now, I did hear from the most of what I heard there. And so let's just go back. And if I'm going in the wrong direction, help me out here. But I wrote down what everybody said, and it sounds like there may be some interest in the deputy reeve at large. And I think that was number 1 and number 4. I want to go around the table again, and let's just put that in or out of the way then. You know, we've all had our say. Oh, actually, if there's somebody else that wants to follow up before we do that, go ahead. Go ahead, Kevin.
Thank you, Reeve, and thank you for basically proving my point. You pointed out people lived here when they were younger, moved there when they're younger, and why things aren't why things should be you know, copacetic with everyone. You used that point to point everybody out where they lived when they began and where they live now, and so you've already disproven your thesis on it doesn't matter. You've used that to point your argument out. So you've already used that. So I think all I want to say is anyone that thinks that they would like a system where there is an imbalance, I say shame on you. I don't care whether you can have a for deputy or for reeve, you need 2,500 votes out of our electorate that do vote. There's 900 people in Blythe. There's about 600 in East Walnut. That's 1,500 people. There's no way in the world that when we have 2 positions that vote for it, that is an even and equal balance. So other than what's been working, go ahead. I have one, like I said, I have 1 vote, and I'm going to use it.
Thank you, Kevin. Go ahead, Chris.
First of all, the word hate was never brought up. And I have 100 acres. So correcting those 2 things.
Sorry.
You know, put it on a small scale. When voters vote for their candidate and that candidate wins, they know that that person has a potential to be the deputy reeve. They know it. So in essence, I know it's just the ward, but in essence, they are being elected. You know, you can put it, you can call it what you want, but I see that they're being elected. It's just a small example of it working. You know, I know Blythe has its. First of all, I'll go back a little bit. We all of us, there's no doubt that we are North Huron and councillors. We're first with North Huron, but with the beauty of the ward system, if there's a special need or something is happening that will hurt our particular ward, then it's brought up because there's representation there. If everybody came from Wingham that was voted, and there was nobody came from East Wabash, if everybody was at large, that could very well happen. All right, agriculture, the farmers are not represented. If something happens, as far as drainage goes, who knows drainage? There's only 3 of us that do, but if all 3 of us were not here, nobody knows. And about agricultural needs and what's happening there with farmers, regarding if bylaws affect them, things like that, nobody knows. So they need to be represented. So that's why it's great that we have 2 people out of 7 and we get our point across. Like, it's not a fight. You just get your point across if it's adversely affecting the constituents in your ward. That's all. I would say 99% of the time I'm with everybody as far as Wingham. If it's Wingham related, yeah, sorry, that was a mistake. If it's North Huron related, yes, and there's just a tiny little bit that if it's East Wabash that affects them, then I'm going to step in loudly. I have to. So that's just putting it. Now, to use an example, Morris Turnberry, they switched down to 5. How many of them are farmers? How many of them are farming today? Does anyone know? 1. The rest are coming from villages or near towns. And they have that, they don't understand farming. So there's a lot of, life isn't the best there. They have a lot of argument, discussion, we'll call it, you know. So, you know, there's an example of, say, it was with us and everything was at large. It would be, it could go very badly. And like, we're unique. What other municipality has a small town, a rural area, and a larger town? Where is that? And so I'm proud of our uniqueness, but the ward system helps maintaining a cohesion there, that everyone feels that they're being represented adequately. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Anyone else? Go ahead, Deputy Reeve Site.
So, a couple of things I just noted here is that it's not about one person, it's not about one ward. So I think arguably from what I'm hearing is the wards, more people are more comfortable with having the wards, which I'm okay with. I'm not against the ward system at all. I want to make sure I'm very clear on that. The ward system has worked. It has worked relatively well in making sure issues amongst the wards are voiced. My concern has always been, is there a need to have two people share the same voice? You have counselors who have, I mean, if you as a counselor, if Counselor Heffer was the counselor from Wingham and I was the Reeve at large, in this scenario, potentially, and I wasn't from Wingham, Counselor Heffer would be the one who would get the calls for that, or the Reeve, as it relates to those issues. Spreading out, I mean, arguably the workload that we're talking about isn't, I'm one person and I have a full-time job. I mean, I understand that people's concerned about workload and that, but our size of our population, even with the expansion of what we have, is not consistent to the size of the current composition of our council. It doesn't, there's municipalities that are a lot bigger than us that have a per capita people that deal with a lot more issues, and we have a lot of issues, but we have a lot of people who are talking to the same amount of counselors for 2 times the different size of us. So, I mean, one of my concerns is is it only a need because we don't want to change and change is scary? Or do we really believe the size of our population consistently continues to have that you need 2 counselors in each ward? I don't see it. And I mean, I'm telling you right now, if we went at the deputy at large and we went to option 1 and I had to go against, and if I chose to run again as a counselor and I have to run against Counselor Heffer, I got my work cut out for me. We all would have our work cut out for us. That's the concern I have, is that I don't want this thing to be self-preservation in the sense that, well, I'm a counselor, now I don't want to worry about change because now I've got to concern myself as to running against the person who I'm been confidant with for the last 4 years. And I mean, the last point I wanted to make is I would argue Councillor Palmer's comment as it relates to the electorates know that their deputy Reeve comes within the people, the councillors. I would argue for the most part, the electorates don't know, that didn't even know we had a deputy Reeve until after the thing is issued, after we have a deputy Reeve after the first council meeting. They didn't know that I could have been that person, or Chris or Anita could have been. I would argue that they don't know that. I would truly believe that they didn't know that until, and if you put it on the election on the ballot, they would have more they would be more apt to be more looking at the facts about what that person stands for, rather than just, oh, here, this person is from East Walsh or whatever. And, council, good luck on making that, motion, because I don't know whether that makes it good, bad, or indifferent. So that's the two the follow-up comments that I have.
Could I ask everyone if we can just go around and just see, I'm going to presume the last couple of weeks there was something in the papers about this. Can I ask the counselors how many people contact them over this? Can I do that, Carson, or is that the wrong way to go about it? I got to watch myself, guys, because there's...
Well, I guess to be frank, your worship, you can ask any question you really want. I guess it's up to each counselor of whether they feel the need to answer that, but I guess that's the thing. Any counselor has the ability to pose any question they want. As long as you're not conducting a vote on anything without a mover and a seconder, then you're fine.
Okay. Then I'm going to follow up with a second question. I'm going to think that we'd all like to, I'm not sure vote, but come to a conclusion on ward. Do we want to keep the wards or not? So would that have to go to a vote? And then we're going to go on our Deputy Reeve. Do we want to keep the Deputy Reeve as is, or have them at large? Would that be considered votes, Carson?
Those would be votes, your worship. So the way the draft motion is there, council can insert an option out of those 5 options there, and you can vote on everything at once. Council can break it down into the 4 layers of decisions that I had noted previously and see where that gets you. It's entirely how council wants to approach it. I would say the reason it's structured the way it is right now was from the previous direction of council to where everything was to be considered at once, but that's not saying council can't pull things out separately to vote on certain matters.
Okay. Because to be honest with council, and again, I would like to go around the horn on with this one too, is I'm hearing ward system, we'd like it to stay, and I'm hearing Deputy Reeve could be at large. There was some that wanted and some that didn't want it, so I don't know how you want to handle that. Can you guys help me out? Council, can you please help me out?
Well, so your worship, if that is in the direction you're kind of going with, you can certainly rule out options, right? So if council does not want to eliminate wards, which you noted kind of seems like the consensus here, so that would eliminate basically option 2 and option option 2 and option 3 would be off the table. So those are the 2 where all positions were at large. So if that helps, and it's okay if it doesn't help, I guess, but that would leave with option 1, option 4, and option 5 still on the table. But I don't want to make that assumption for council, and ultimately it will come down to whatever's voted on in a motion.
Let me see if I can do it this way then. Can we all agree that we're down to talking about option 1, 4, and 5? Council?
Well, if you're going to put that out to council, you probably want to make that a motion as well, your worship, to eliminate options, or you can just operate under that assumption for now until it's put to a vote.
Okay, can I have some councilors speak up and help me with this then? I'm asking for help. To eliminate. Kevin, Chris, Anita, Rick, Paul, Deputy Reeve, go ahead.
What I'm going to do is because it sounds like that we're going to just spin here about comments, so I'm going to put a motion on the table that the council take option let me just read the motion as you got it here.
You can just insert the option Deputy Reeve site, and I can.
It'd be option number 1 is what I would be willing to move.
Moving option 1. Did I hear that properly, Deputy Reeve site?
That is correct. I am moving option 1.
Okay. Do I have a seconder? Going for the second time. Do I have a seconder? third and final time. Do I have a seconder? The motion fails. Somebody else help us here now? Oh, go ahead, Deputy Reeve Sight.
I will move option number 4 then.
We have Deputy Reeve Sight moving 4. Do I have a seconder? I have Paul Heffer seconding. Okay, so we're gonna open it up for council. Go ahead, Chris, go ahead.
I'm not sure if that was proper procedure there, Deputy Reeve. I think you didn't give a chance for anyone else to come up. Like, you made one motion. I don't think it's right that you make a second motion, just bang right away. I was ready to make one, for instance, and maybe there were others. So I don't agree with how that
Okay,
went.
Carson, did I do something wrong?
No, your worship, you can certainly, anyone can put a motion forward as you call upon them and hands go up. Ultimately, I guess I would say if council's unhappy with the motion, then it would be defeated by a vote, right? If council is overall satisfied with the motion, then it would carry.
Okay, thank you. So let's, there's a motion on the floor. We have a mover or seconder. Would anybody like to speak to the motion? Seeing no one, can you do the call, Carson?
Thank you, your worship. So the motion on the floor right now reads as follows: that the council of the township of North Huron hereby receives the report of the clerk dated July 5th, 2021 regarding the council composition review and evaluation follow-up report for information purposes. And further, that council hereby resolves that commencing with the municipal election in 2022, the council composition shall be structured as set out in option 4 of staff report CL 2021-19. And further, that the clerk be directed to bring forward the necessary bylaw to change the composition of council for the July 19th, 2021 meeting. So if there's no other questions, I'll call the vote.
Not seeing any questions, go ahead.
So Councillor Palmer,
No,
Councillor McBurney,
No,
Deputy Reeve Sight,
Yes.
Councillor Falconer,
No.
Councillor Heffer,
Muted, Paul.
yes.
Councillor Van Hittersum,
No.
and Reeve Bailey.
Yes.
So that motion is defeated 4-3, with the only 3 yeses being Reeve Bailey, Deputy Reeve Sight, and Councillor Heffer.
Thank you very kindly. Would somebody else like to put a motion on the floor? Kevin? Oh, go ahead, Kevin.
Thank you, through you, Reeve. Yes, I would like to make the motion to have a vote on option 5, please.
Option 5 it is. Do I have a mover? I have Kevin moving. Do I have a seconder? I'm sorry, seconder? Chris seconds. Ready, Carson?
Thank you, your worship. So the motion on the floor is that the council of the township of North Huron hereby receives the report of the clerk dated July 5th, 2021 regarding the council composition review and evaluation follow-up report for information purposes. And further, that council hereby resolves that commencing with the municipal election in 2022, the council composition shall be structured as set out in option 5 of staff report CL 2021-19. So if there's no questions or comments on or clarification about that motion, then I will put it to a vote.
Go ahead, Kevin.
Through you, Reeve, to Carson. Shouldn't that also have the mention in there that it is status quo, but there's no changes being made, just so
Okay.
it's not.
So option 5, as set out in the report, is status quo. But if you want it directly specified in the motion, you can make that amendment if Councillor Palmer's in favor of it as well.
I am.
So the motion now reads that the Council of the Township of North Huron hereby receives the report of the clerk dated July 5th, 2021 regarding the council composition, review and evaluation, follow-up report for information purposes. And further, that council hereby resolves that commencing with the municipal election in 2022, the council composition shall be structured as set out in option number 5, status quo of staff report CL 2021-19. So if that is sufficient to the mover and the seconder, then and there's no other questions, I'll put that to a vote.
Fine.
So Councillor McBurney,
Yes.
Deputy Reeve Sight,
No.
Councillor Falconer,
Yes.
Councillor Heffer,
No.
Councillor Van Hitterson,
Yes.
Councillor Palmer,
Yes.
and Reeve Bailey.
No.
So that motion carries 4-3. With the noes being Reeve Bailey, Deputy Reeve Sight, and Councillor Heffer.
Democracy at its best.
Very good debate, ladies and gentlemen. Very good debate. Thank you very kindly. Didn't see any pens going across the room. Okay, let's move on.
So Reeve Bailey, Deputy Reeve Sight has his hand up there.
What's that? Sorry. Yeah, go ahead,
I
Deputy
just-
Site.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment. I just wanted to comment to all the counselors that thank you for taking a look at it, investigating it. Everything is on the table, and we've made the decision, and I respectfully agree with the conversation, and respectfully understand that democracy is what it is, and we'll carry on with the way we're going. And thank you very much for that.
Anyone else? Not seeing any. We're going to move on now to 7.3, Recreation Community Services, 7.3.1. Vicky, did you want to speak to this one?
Sure. Thank you, Your Worship. Before you this evening is a report with respect to being recognized as an approved day camp service provider with Huron County. As an approved day camp service provider, Huron County will provide subsidy for approved participants in the program. The subsidies will offset any fees that are applicable. Attached to the report is an agreement that the county has put together for the last few years. We've been well, more than a few years, but for a number of years, we've been working just kind of on an informal basis with them under the same requirements, but it just was never formalized. And then this year, Huron County has put forth a formalized agreement for that. Staff have reviewed it. There's nothing really changed in it. And it just kind of spells out what the requirements are in order to be approved. So staff are recommending that the township enter into that agreement.
Thank you, Vicky. Do I have a mover? I have Paul moving. Do I have a seconder? I have Rick seconding. Thank you. Okay. Questions, comments, concerns for Vicky? Go ahead, Deputy Reeve Sight.
Vicky, I just wanted to question. I know there has been some communication before about subsidies and what they consider eligible costs or eligible for subsidies. Has there been any further discussion as it relates from the county, as it relates to the resident, non-resident fee, and whether they're going to accept subsidies for those different rates?
You mean whether or not they're going to provide subsidy for those different rates?
That's correct.
Yeah. So the way that the system is worked out is that it's not a surcharge. It's at the non-resident fee is just that's the fee that non-residents pay. So it is the actual registration fee. So they will be subsidizing that, like they have whoever they approve that's in need of that kind of subsidy. It will be approved at this point. There hasn't been any further discussion with them as to what will occur in the future in terms of childcare services or other recreational programming. But at this point, that's where we're at.
Thank you very much.
Kevin, go ahead.
Thank you, through you, Bernie, through you, Bailey. To Vicky, is there a portion of this camp that is paid for by the taxpayers of North Huron that are not being paid for by the out of territory users of the program? You can kind of getting an idea of what I'm just asking if there's if we bore a greater portion of the cost for that camp and it's being used by outside our municipality at a cheaper price that without taxation covering it.
Through your worship, no, the programs are run on a break even or cost neutral basis. And it's based on, it's a user pay type of program. So no.
Anyone else? Not seeing anybody? No. 7.3.1 is RC-2021-10 Recreation Program Services Agreement with Huron County to provide fee subsidies for daycare programs. That the Council of the Township of North Huron hereby receives a report from the Director of Recreation and Community Services dated July 5th, 2021 regarding the Recreation Program Service Agreement with the County of Huron for the purposes of being recognized as an approved day camp program service provider for information purposes, and further that the council authorizes the Regional Clerk to sign on an agreement with between the County of Huron and the Township of North Huron for the provisions of fee subsidies for eligible participants registered to the North Huron Daycare Program, and further that council considers the adoption of bylaw number 55-2021 being a bylaw authorizing the Regional Clerk to sign an agreement between the County of Huron and the Township of North Huron to be time sensitive matter and grants an exception to section 19.1 of the procedural bylaw, allowing bylaw number 55-2021 to be adopted at the July 5th, 2021 regular meeting of council. And I believe I have movers, so I'm going to hand it over to Carson.
Thank you, Your Worship. So Councillor McBurney,
Yes.
Deputy Reeve-Sype,
Yes.
Councillor Falconer,
Yes.
Councillor Heffer,
Yes.
Councillor Van Hitterson,
Yes.
Councillor Palmer,
Yes.
and Reeve Bailey.
Yes.
So that motion carries 7-0.
Thank you very kindly, Vicky. Okay, moving on to 7.4.1 Public Works and Facilities. There's a transfer payment agreement for the Wingham Standpipe. And Jamie, I'm going to get you to speak to that first.
Thank you, Reeve Bailey. Staff are pleased to report that the township's ICIP Green Stream funding application was approved by the Ministry of Infrastructure. The total eligible expenditure amount for this project is $2.8 million. North Huron is responsible for the balance. Staff are recommending that council authorize the Regional Clerk to sign the transfer payment agreement. Due to the time-sensitive nature of this funding, staff also recommend council grant an exception to section 19.1 of the township's procedure bylaw to allow bylaw number 54-2021 to be adopted at the July 5th regular council meeting. In a previous report provided on May 17th, 2021, RJ Burnside and Associates were provided, were approved for the design work. And once completed, council will be able to apply the funds received from the federal and provincial governments towards the replacement of the Wingham Standpipe. There will be a future report provided to council once further engineering is completed, and I can provide council with a detailed cost to discuss during the 2022 budget deliberations. This report, the agreement's fairly lengthy, but I won't go too far into it, but it is very good news for the township. And this will provide a good amount of money to help offset those costs for the Wingham Standpipe. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jamie. Can I get a mover, please? I have Paul Hepper moving, a seconder, please. I have Chris Palmer seconding. Okay, let's open it up for questions, comments, or concerns. Not seeing any. Hey, Jamie, this one report from Steve Clark, the minister, that was in our under number 5 agenda. Is that the same thing?
No, that's actually additional funding.
Oh, additional funding.
That's for the municipal, the one that was in the consent agenda. That's for the municipal modernization program for intake 2 that we applied for, and we applied for the IT service delivery review, and then also for more assistance with the implementation of Laserfish, so that we could bring in more records management contract scanners. And we were successful in both of those applications.
Thank you very kindly, and I apologize for not bringing that up during that session of our council meeting. Okay, questions, comments, concerns. Go ahead, Christopher.
Yeah, thank you, Reeve. The word's ginormous, Jamie. Yeah, no, it's really super good news. Yeah, you feel more confident as a councillor, and we all will as we move forward. So good work.
Anyone else? Go ahead, Paul.
To you, Reeve. Yeah, I'm going to be able to sleep better at nighttime knowing that it's going to get replaced 150 feet away from me. Great news.
Yeah, it's one of these things. It's a very expensive, very, very expensive. You can only push that can down the road so far, and then it's going to stop rolling. So whether we want to or not, it's another decision that this council will be making as we move forward. Go ahead, Deputy Reeve Site.
I was just going to offer a life jacket to Paul if he would like it, just in case.
I think he might need something to pry it off him. Anyway.
All kidding aside, no, excellent offer, excellent thing from the governments. The obviously it's an awesome thing to have in a partnership with your federal and provincial governments to get that type of infrastructure replaced in a municipality of our size is a great win overall.
Thank you very kindly. Not seeing anyone else, I'm going to hand it over to Carson for roll call.
Thank you, Your Worship. So the motion on the floor is that the Council of the Township of North Huron hereby receives the report of the Director of Public Works and Facilities dated July 5th, 2021 regarding the transfer payment agreement for the Wingham Standpipe project for information. And further, that the Council of the Township of North Huron hereby accepts the transfer payment agreement between Her Majesty the Queen in right of Ontario as represented by the Minister of Infrastructure and the Corporation of the Township of North Huron to be a time-sensitive and administrative matter, and grants an exception to section 19.1 of the Township's procedure bylaw to allow bylaw number 54, 2021 to be adopted at the July 5th, 2021 regular meeting. So Deputy Reeve Site.
Yes.
Councillor Falconer.
Yes.
Councillor Hepper.
Yes.
Councillor Van Hitterson.
Yes.
Councillor Palmer.
Yes.
Councillor McBurney.
Yes.
And Reeve Bailey.
Yes.
So that motion carries 7-0.
Amy, you're up next again with the Belgrave Hot Mix Supply and Replacement Extension.
Thank you, Reeve Bailey. During the 2021 budget discussions, staff did recommend that hot mix asphalt be applied to sections of the Belgrave hamlet with the addition of with the additional gas tax funding that the township received. We are hoping that we can extend the paving to encompass the entire area in Belgrave so that we're able to get asphalt all throughout the roads in Belgrave. And it is an estimated additional $40,000 on top of the $110,000 that was approved in the budget. With the additional gas tax funding that the township was provided, this would have no impact on the levy, and staff are requesting council approve the additional expenditure. Thank you.
Thank you very kindly. Do I have a mover? I have Paul Heffer moving, Chris Palmer seconding. Okay. That the Council of the Township of North Huron hereby receives the report of the Director of Public Works and Facilities dated July 5th, 2021 regarding a request to expand the scope of the 2021 hot mix supply and replacement program to include the North Huron streets in Belgrade. And further, that the council approves funding for the extended scope of the 2021 hot mix supply and replacement program using the extra gas tax funding received in 2021. And further, that the expanded scope of the hot mix supply and replacement program be included in the tender awarded to Armstrong Paving and Materials Group Limited for $40,000 exclusive of applicable taxes. And further, that the Director of Finance be authorized to make the necessary changes to approve the 2021 budget. Do I have a mover? I don't think I put a mover.
You already have a mover and a seconder, Your Worship.
Thank you kindly. It's all yours. Kevin, go ahead.
Thank you, yeah, for allowing questions on this. Jamie, the prior, I guess a plan, deficit or infrastructure plan that the previous Works Department had put out about 2 years ago, prior to you coming there, had a list of priorities and to what they thought how things needed to be done and what needed to be done before others. I just wonder where does this fall on that priority scale? Because I thought there was other projects ahead of this that were a higher priority than repaving the like going ahead and repaving. I'm not really sure of the condition of the roads in Belgrade, but I know there's some in Blythe here that are quite bad. I'm just wondering how that fell on there and when do we fit into some repaving on that scale or on that list.
Thank you. Go ahead, Jamie.
So through Reed Bailey to Councillor Faulkner, during the 2021 budget discussions, I did bring a report showing the reasoning for the asphalt that would be going on the roads in Belgrade. One of the things that we did look at was the failure rate of the asphalt in all of the areas of the township. There was a pretty good, we also completed, there was a 2016 roading study, and just recently there's been a 2020 roads assessment. I can actually provide that information at another council meeting because it's really good to see the information from another organization. So with the roads in Belgrave, they are, because there is very good water underneath the roads there, the pavement is failing, and if left further to deteriorate, there will be a higher cost to fix the roads in Belgrave than there needs to be. So this was one way to assist with prolonging the roads and the costs that will be incurred in that area.
Thank you, Jamie. Any other questions for Jamie? Not seeing any. I'm going to hand it over to Carson. I believe I have a mover and seconder.
Thank you, Your Worship. So Councillor Faulkner?
No.
Councillor Heffer?
Yes.
Councillor Van Henderson?
Yes.
Councillor Palmer?
Yes.
Councillor McBurney?
Yes.
Deputy Reeve Sipe?
Yes.
And Reeve Bailey.
Yes.
So that motion carries 6-1 with the no being Councillor Faulkner.
Thank you. 7.5 is fire department. We have no report tonight. 7.6, we have no building department report. 7.7, we have no child care department report, and CAO, no reports tonight. 8, correspondence. The retirement of Donna White, Director of Finances. Donna. How about a few words, Donna? Tell us which was your best counsel, besides us, I mean.
For sure. So it's certainly been my pleasure to be part of the North Huron team for the last 20 years. I think North Huron has a bright future and you have some very dedicated staff. I've enjoyed working with the various members of council over the years, and I certainly wanted to give a lot of notice. So I have a lot of work to do in the next 6 months to wrap everything up that I possibly can. And I'll certainly promise to do my very best to make sure that it's a smooth transition for the next person. So I'm looking forward to my next chapter and spending more time with my family. So I certainly thank you for the opportunity to serve North Huron. So thank you.
Donna, it's been a pleasure. Anybody else want to say anything to Donna? Go ahead, Paul.
Yes, through you, Reeve. Yeah, I was driving down Patrick Street this morning and I saw somebody's daughter and I said, we're not accepting her letter, but so be it. Congratulations, Donna.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Chris.
Thank you, Rave. Donna, you're already looking younger. Yeah, no, you enjoy, it's been great that North Huron has had you for so long, and you've done a stellar job. So, and this council, I know I'm speaking for everybody. I trust that we've enjoyed working with you. You always know your information, and you seem to be upbeat too. So that's helpful to us. So when the time comes, have a great and healthy retirement.
Thank you very much.
Anyone else? Go ahead, Rick.
You, Reeve Bailey. Donna, you should be able to look forward to every day being a Saturday. Anyway, congratulations.
Thank you.
Donna, it looks like I'm going to end this one. Donna, I want to tell you something. I was on council last time around, and this time around on council, and I know the very first time I was a real pain in the neck to you because I think every day I was asking a question, and I know how you busy are now that I am at the Reeve ship. I understand how busy you really are. I do want to thank you for back then and now, because you always answered my questions. You always got back to me, and it has been a sheer pleasure. So enjoy your retirement, girl. Okay.
Thank you very much.
So we're going to read here that the Council of the Township of North Huron hereby accepts with regret the retirement of Donna White, Director of Finance, effective December 31st, 2021. And further, the CEO be directed to prepare a report to address the retirement party. Sorry, I meant vacancy. Do I have a mover? I have Paul Heffer moving. Do I have that was a hard one. You were almost stuck here, Donna. Rick is seconding it. Go ahead, Carson.
Thank you, Your Worship. So Councillor Heffer? You cut out there, Councillor Heffer.
Choking up.
Yes.
Councillor Van Hittersum?
Yes.
Councillor Palmer?
It's a sad yes.
Councillor McBurney?
Yes.
Deputy Reeve Sight?
Yes.
Councillor Falconer?
Happy retirement, yes.
And Reeve Bailey.
Yes.
So that motion carries 7-0.
Thank you for everything, Donna. We'll try not to work you too hard for the next 6 months.
No worries. Thank you.
Council reports, Reeves activity report. At the county, I just want to touch on a few things. County, for those, all my councilors are aware, so this is basically out to the general public. The county had a cross-border discussion on June 22nd. They invited all the county councilors and each municipality's CAO. We talked about other communities like that were doing projects and how it worked. We talked about Goderich and Central Huron. That's there's Walmart project where Central Huron collected the taxes for so many years, and then Goderich will end up collecting the taxes forever after when the deal was over. It's another one we touched on was Blue Water in Central Huron, and it was a Bayfield project about 2 or 3 years ago, and Central Huron wanted them to put their water and sewer, I believe it was, over to the other side of Blue Water, but they didn't want to pay. It was a $3 million cost. They didn't want to pay, so that one never happened. It was said over and over and over again that you have to have an agreement to service across border. by professionals as well as people that did it. It took 10 years for Grand Bend to make a deal with their two neighbors, Blue Water, and I think it was called Hayes back in those days. This is a little before our time. 10 years to make that deal. When we went around the table, I explained that North Huron Council had decided to turn services inwards towards East Wabanach Ward from the Blythe and Wingham water and sewer systems, therefore getting future taxes for ourselves, but also allowing Huron County to continue to grow. We're not holding anything up. At the same time, I said our council still has the door open for anyone that would like to talk to us about services. So we left all the doors open. It was a very good, I think, 3 hours and good conversation, but it brought a lot out. The fact that we're all just trying to, each and every council is trying to do the best they can for their constituents. We are offering, and I think it's been on their table now for 6 weeks. Anita or Trevor can speak to this in a minute. I can't remember how long. We have sent another offer into Morris Turnberry. I'm told it hasn't even hit their council yet. It's got to be 6 or 8 weeks. We have the door open. We want to make an agreement with them. But at the end of the day, if it's not a fair and if it's not going to pay North Huron, if it's going to cost North Huron money, you don't make deals like that. You don't go to a Ford dealership and drive off the lot with a car and say, I'm only paying for the gas. Not going to work, guys. So anyway, there is an offer out there. We're waiting to hear back. That touches on that one. The COVID-19 injection sites that we're having are ongoing. They're strong in North Huron. We're going to be adding one more this month. So in July, we're going to have COVID injections on the 6th, the 8th, and the 22nd. We're 2 people short right now for the 8th. So if somebody could jump in there, we'd appreciate it. I just want to say it's amazing to see where all the volunteers come from. And I had a nice chat with a lady from Morris Turnberry. Actually, Sean, one of the doctors, we talked so long after the Nation Clinic had shut down, he kind of come up and asked us if we wouldn't mind moving along outside so they could go home. So it's a lot of fun doing these and getting to know different people. So I just want to put that in there, that it's amazing who's coming out and we enjoy that. And that's pretty well it for the Reese report for this week. Council member reports, verbal written updates from members who sit on boards or committees. Anything at all from a board or committee? I know we're still not up to par yet. Not seeing any. We'll move on to comments by member. Oh, sorry, Trevor, did you have your hand up? Okay, comments by members. Are there any comments from the members? Still not seeing anyone. Quiet crowd tonight. Notice of motion, we have none. Bylaws. Bylaw 53, 2021 zoning bylaw amendment. Rutting Holdings Limited. Do I have a mover? I have Paul moving. I have Kevin seconding. Go ahead, Carson.
Thank you, Your Worship. So the motion on the floor is that bylaw number 53, 2021, being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 82, 2008, as amended, being the zoning bylaw of the Corporation of the Township of North Huron for a zoning bylaw amendment as it applies to Block 3, Registered Plan 22M-13, Blythe, Township of North Huron, County of Huron, be introduced, read a first, second, third, and final time, be signed by the reading clerk, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. So Councillor Van Hitterson?
Yes.
Councillor Palmer?
Yes.
Councillor McBurney?
Yes.
Deputy Reeve Say?
Yes.
Councillor Falconer?
Yes.
Councillor Heffer?
Yes.
And Reeve Bailey.
Yes.
So that motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. 11.2 bylaw number 54-2021 transfer payment agreement investing in Canada infrastructure program. Do I have a mover? I have Anita Van Hitterson moving. I have Rick McBurney seconding. I'll hand it over to you, Carson.
Thank you, Your Worship. So that bylaw number 54, 2021, being a bylaw to authorize the Reeve clerk to sign on behalf of council a transfer payment agreement between the Corporation of the Township of North Huron and Her Majesty the Queen in Right of Ontario, as represented by the Minister of Infrastructure for the Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program Green Stream, be introduced, read a first, second, third, and final time, be signed by the Reeve clerk, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. So Councillor Palmer,
Yes.
Councillor McBurney,
Yes.
Deputy Reeve Sight,
Yes.
Councillor Falconer,
Yes.
Councillor Heifer,
Yes.
Councillor Van Henderson,
Yes.
and Reeve Bailey.
Yes.
So that motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. 11.3, bylaw number 55-2021, Recreation Program Services Agreement with Huron County. Do I have a mover? I have Deputy Reeve Sights and I have Rick McBurney seconding. Go ahead, Carson.
Thank you, Your Worship. That bylaw number 55-2021, being a bylaw to authorize the Reeve and Clerk to sign on behalf of council a recreation program service agreement with the County of Huron to provide childcare programs and services be introduced, read a first, second, third, and final time, be signed by the Reeve and Clerk, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. So Councillor McBurney,
Yes.
Deputy Reeve Sight,
Yes.
Councillor Falconer. See you nodding there. So
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
Councillor Heifer,
Yes.
Councillor Van Henderson,
Yes.
Councillor Palmer,
Yes.
and Reeve Bailey.
Yes.
So that motion carries 7-0.
11.4, bylaw number 56-2021, Site Plan Control Agreement with capital letters BAAG, Airtight Storage Limited. Do I have a mover? I have Kevin Faulkner moving. Do I have a seconder? I have Anita Van Henderson seconding. It's yours, Carson.
Thank you, Your Worship. So that bylaw number 56-2021, being a bylaw of the Township of North Huron to authorize the Reeve and Clerk to sign on behalf of council a site plan control agreement between the Corporation of the Township of North Huron and BAAG Airtight Storage Limited, be introduced, read a first, second, third, and final time, be signed by the Reeve and Clerk, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. So Deputy Reeve Sight,
Yes.
Councillor Falconer,
Yes.
Councillor Heifer,
Yes.
Councillor Van Henderson,
Yes.
Councillor Palmer,
Yes.
Councillor McBurney,
Yes.
and Reeve Bailey.
Yes.
So that motion carries 7-0.
Thank you kindly. Announcements. The next regular council meeting will be held Monday, July 19th, 2021 at 6 p.m. through electronic participation. The next Economic Development and Recovery Committee meeting will be held on Thursday, July 15th, 2021 at 2 p.m. through electronic participation. The next Wingham BIA Board meeting will be held on Thursday, August 19th, 2021 at 6:30 through electronic participation. The next Blythe BIA Board meeting will be held on Thursday, August 26th, 2021 at 8 a.m. through electronic participation. Other business? Seeing none. Closed session we do not have tonight. Confirmation bylaw, bylaw number 57-2021, confirmation bylaw. That the bylaw number 57-2021 being a bylaw to adopt, confirm, and ratify matters dealt with by the Council of the Township of North Huron at the July 5th, 2021 meeting be introduced, read a first, second, third, and final time, be signed by the Reeve and Clerk and engrossed in the bylaw books. Do I have a mover? I have Chris moving, Paul seconding. Carson?
Thank you, Your Worship. So Councillor Falconer,
Yes.
Councillor Heifer,
Yes.
Councillor Van Henderson,
Yes.
Councillor Palmer,
Yes.
Councillor McBurney,
Yes.
Deputy Reeve Sight,
Yes.
and Reeve Bailey.
Yes.
So that motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. That the Council of the Township of North Huron agrees that there being no further business before council, the meeting is hereby adjourned at 7:56 p.m. Do I have a mover? I have Rick moving. I have Kevin seconding. Carson?
Thank you, Your Worship. So Councillor Heifer, oh, Councillor Heifer, you were muted there.
Yes.
Councillor Van Henderson,
Yes.
Counselor Palmer,
Yes.
Counselor McBurney,
Yes.
Deputy Reeve Sight,
Yes.
Counselor Falconer, and Reeve Bailey.
Yes.
So that motion carries 7-0.
Thank you very kindly. Till we meet again, everybody, please stay safe. Have a good night. Bye-bye now.